Hi there, welcome to this lecture. Actually, I'm going to talk about web hosting and the difference between free and paid web hosting and how to choose the best for your website. At the first, I want to tell you what are the contents of your website and how it looks from the web hosting site. Your website is a folder consists of many other folders and files. This folder needs a storage space to be stored in. This storage space is a hard disk like you use in your computer, but in this case, the hard disk and the computer contained it have larger size and more powerful features than the computers we have. That computers called servers, and they are located in the web hosting company. In this picture, you can find a simple example of a website, and you can see that it's nothing but folders and files. In fact, you can have your own servers, but it is very complicated and expensive. In the last lecture, I was talking about the domain name, and as you remember, the domain name is an address for your website, and you have to connect this address with your web hosting server if you want your website to be alive. Okay, now, did you still remember the IP, the real address for your website? In fact, each web hosting company have domain name servers, and as I told you before, the domain name servers translate your domain name to IP address, so the web hosting servers understand this IP and direct your visitor to your website. The problem is how to connect your domain name with the domain name servers and web hosting servers. In fact, most of the domain name companies also have a web hosting service and vice versa. So, if you buy your domain name and web hosting from the same web hosting company, this process done automatically. But if you buy the domain name from one company and the web hosting from another company, you have to point them manually. And I will teach you how to do that in a separated lecture later in this section. Okay, now you have to choose a web hosting for your website. In general, you have two choices, free or paid web hosting. And let me start with the free web hosting. There are many companies that provide this service for free. Some of these companies have the ability to connect your domain name with this web hosting, and in general, that companies also provide paid web hosting. The most companies give you a free domain name also, but this domain name is a subdomain from the company domain name. These companies provide free hosting for marketing purpose. Some of that company display ads in your website, and in general, this hosting have limits in size or bandwidth. Sometimes it's good to have such a web hosting for training, but if you are serious in your work, please avoid using anything free, not only because the limit features, but also because you may lose your website without any alert. Now, let me talk about paid web hosting. Also, there are many companies providing this service, and as I told you, some of them provide free web hosting also. But now, let me tell you the most important features you should look for to decide if this web hosting plan is okay for your website. The first thing is the space or the size of the hard disk you can use in the web hosting plan. Actually, most companies nowadays have unlimited space for your website, but if you want to choose a limited web hosting, you should check if this space will be okay for your content. The second important thing is the bandwidth. This concept means the amount of data transferred from or to your website per month. In simple words, this concept determines the monthly number of visitors to your website, and it is clear that more bandwidth means more visitors, so look for web hosting with unlimited bandwidth. Another thing you should look for is PHP and SQL or database support. Databases are very important, and if you want to use WordPress, you must choose a web hosting supports database. PHP and MySQL and sometimes SQL are programming languages to manage the database. In fact, there are many features you can find in web hosting plans, and there is no time to talk about all of them now. The most important things for our work are space and bandwidth, and in this case, we have the choice. But when we talk about the database support, we don't have the choice. Our web hosting must support database. Fortunately, most companies have these features. At the end, I want to remind you by the topics I have talked about in this lecture. I've talked about the contents of your website and about the connection between your domain name and web hosting. Then, I explained the free and paid web hosting and the most important feature to be checked when you want to choose a web hosting plan. This is everything now. In the next two videos, I will register in a free and paid web hosting company, so don't miss them. I hope this information about hosting companies was helpful, and thanks for watching.